It has been little over 48 hours since a group of Islamist terrorists attacked and killed almost 320 people and injured hundreds and hundreds more in an act that only can be described as barbaric and cowardly. In the past, Sri Lanka has been subjected to similar types of terrorism supported by both local and powerful regional interests in their ongoing war of extermination against us. Together, these non-humans and their international backers must take the full responsibility for this act. As a Sri Lankan, I know many of you in the West are shocked by this and are calling for justice. I understand the media frenzy around the victims, the majority of whom are Christians. However, for us, the target is not important. What is important for us that we view each of the victims as one of us, our own, just like me. We see this attack against all of us despite the fact that some media organizations and fake media gurus want to show this as a continuation of attacks against minorities in Sri Lanka. I also understand that most of the Western mainstream media outlets such as BBC, The Guardian, The New York Times, even The Spiegel of Germany, that have previously supported and elaborated the propaganda narrative of terrorist organizations, find it difficult to place this attack against Sri Lankan Christians in their false anti-Sri Lankan arguments. Sri Lankans generally find it unacceptable and disgusting that big Western media organizations try to blame the attack on so-called Buddhist extremists. Of course, there are Buddhist extremists, but in this attack, there's nothing relating with the so-called Buddhist extremist or Christian extremist or Hindu extremist. The group that attacked us, our people, on Sunday was in the center of a range of anti-Buddhist, anti-Hindu, anti-Christian and anti-Islam activities for a number of years, who along with few other similar groups with powerful political backing were driving an extremist Islamist movement to trigger ethnic and religious conflicts. Therefore, if Western media really want to understand the actuality of Sri Lanka or want to report the truth, do so. No problem. Just simply report the truth. But we urge them not to try to use the rivers of blood that was shed by our people last Sunday to advance their political interests. Advance your ratings so you can earn more money. It is an act of utter dehumanizing to see that our people being used as tools of an argument based on false propagandic narratives to advance a particular geopolitical interest in the Indian Ocean. It is dehumanizing to use Sri Lankan people who have died as cheap tools of argument to convince a Western audience of their fake news arguments, fake news narratives. What the most of them say essentially is that Buddhists are responsible for the Islamist terrorist attack against Sri Lankan people, while Buddhists themselves were the victims of these terrorist groups for a number of years, just like the Hindus, just like the Muslims, which most of these media outlets failed to report or chose not to report, chose to ignore. I understand you get praises for this kind of false narratives by few Sri Lankan extremists living in Europe, or you get praised by false gurus who want to be the genie of Sri Lanka. However, keep in mind what you are doing is supporting terrorism and supporting the agenda of the terrorists who sought to kill hundreds. Your false narrative is supporting terrorism. Your false narrative is triggering a ethno-religious war where thousands more will die. So act responsibly. Act with a brain. Stop just typing anything you end up having in your mind, because you need to report every 15 minutes. You have to decide now if you want to support the agenda of the terrorists who killed 321 people. You have to decide now if you want to see the terrorist agenda to start another racial, ethnic war in this world with your irresponsible reporting. It is absolutely disgusting how BBC, The Guardian, The New York Times have behaved. If you don't know shit about Sri Lanka, stop reporting shit. Simple as that. It's up to you to choose whether you take the responsibility of your reporting. It's up to you to choose if you want to support such fanatical, barbaric terrorist agenda. I hope you report with responsibility in the time to come.